And we're back here on Sunday morning with Brooke and myself, talking about Feng Shui from Nancy SantoPietro's book, Feng Shui and Health. And Brooke's going to talk a little bit about the emotional aspects and a bit more. So take it away, Brooke.
Okay. So on we're going back a little bit after we talked about the Bagua, to page 54, where she actually talks about the ESPs. So the emotional aspects, the spiritual aspects, and the physical aspects. The emotional aspects, she talks about how they are defined as unresolved feelings and or personal issues that might still be eating away at you, or that you haven't entirely made peace with on a deep level. The operative word here is personal. These issues are germane to you. It's all the stuff you stored inside of you, hid away, or didn't consciously remember, which has lain dormant until now. Old hurts, abandonments, betrayals, fear-based feelings such as jealousy, anger, and powerlessness. Unprocessed grief, losses, disappointments, and traumas, along with painful memories of emotional, physical, and sexual abuse. Our current life issues may reflect memories that go as far back into the womb and beyond.
Okay, and then a little review of what we're doing on Feng Shui and so forth. Feng Shui is the idea of arranging your environment to help your, as pointed out, physical, spiritual, and physical well-being.
Yep.
And the idea of the Feng Shui setup is as you enter a room or a neighborhood or a house, that's the doorway or the entrance is considered the south, and so then you go around the compass directions around the room or the house and try to arrange your environment in the most auspicious way. And then it also pertains to your emotional well-being as well, and that's what we're getting at today, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, everything around us, include ourselves, our environment, we're all energy. We may feel physical, we may think we're in physical form, but we are nothing but energy. And the energy that we are made of and we produce obviously affects our environment, and vice versa. The energy of our environment affects us. And that's why I wanted to go over this particular chapter, because once we start really getting into like how do you arrange your room, what are good energy, no matter how much energy you put into rearranging your house, if you don't put the equal amount of energy into yourself, it's not, the feng shui won't be complete. The balance, the circle won't complete itself. So
Yeah. So you're saying that you might look at the book and it says, okay, arrange your north wall to have the color of green on it and have a meter there or something, and then you might say to yourself, "Oh, well, that will do. That will help my relationship now." Well, not necessarily.
No.
Inner work too, as well.
Yeah. So yes, that's the key. And I just read the emotional part. And then the next is, so that's the first, is being healthy and facing your own emotional self. Then you have to also look into your spiritual aspects. And I mean, as much as this is obviously a very Asian, Eastern-based philosophy, this will still hold true no matter what religion you are on. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I am doing...
Why are your keys? Is your car unlocked?
They're downstairs by my backpack. Okay. Sorry. Kids. So these will very much in place yourself, even if you're Christian based, Buddhist based, Jewish based, anything. I mean, your spirituality is important to you no matter which aspect you're looking at. She says, let's see here, it's the part, she's talking about like if you have any spiritual illness or any illness that might be connected to your spiritual self, it's the part of the illness that helps you find your way back to to the last place you were in before you separated from your healthy self. Reclaiming these aspects helps you hit the spiritual reset button and gives you a new lease on life. It also helps you to reconnect spiritually and get back on your life's path. This part of your illness can help you to fulfill your commitment to service as part of your life's work while here on the planet. Some souls have actually made a contract to develop a particular disease and make their contribution to humankind through providing that service for others to grow. The key concepts here are big picture issues, spiritual lessons, service, and then it goes on to like past lives and karma if you believe into that.
Okay. So I think I heard she say that kind of like it'll give you a kickstart on turning back to your spiritual wherever you kind of left off in a sense.
Yes. Yeah, I know that happened to me. You know, it's that you're everything's slipping from underneath you. The floor is falling, and what do you grab a hold of? And the best thing you can ever grab a hold of is your own spirituality instead of, you know, obvious things around you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of thinking in our fast-paced world today, that happens more often than not to a lot of us, where we might have been at some point in our earlier life feeling fairly spiritual and comfortable, and then all of a sudden we just got caught up in other stuff, and that kind of dropped by the wayside, and then we will have a feeling, well, there's something missing here, and then you kind of get back to it, search for that which you missed for a while.
Yeah, one of my favorite sayings, I actually don't even know where it originates from, but it has been my compass, and that is when something spiritually kind of hits you, when you get that reckoning, it's not something you're learning, it's something you're remembering. You know, you already know this. It's just, you know, the your ego, the 3D self has tried to forget it, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the basis of especially Eastern philosophies, if not Western as well, that you have an underlying soul or being that you can't really, you know, but it's there, and we lose sight of that in our daily goings from here to there. So
Yeah.
it's kind of returning back to that, which is the basis of all your Tai Chi and Qigong and all this exercise in Christian
Absolutely.
tradition, you know, be your prayer and your meeting together
Yep.
in church services and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. And all of them are important. And she goes into that. The next page, she goes into how we tend to only focus on one aspect, maybe two, but we need all three to be healthy. And so then the third aspect, which I think we tend to either pay attention to too much or not enough, is the physical aspect. All disease has a physical component by which it manifests in a certain way through a certain organ or an area in the body, although this stage that gets the individual's attention first. Yeah, so we obviously recognize our physical problems first. It is usually the last place where disease and illness surface. Most individuals are already in a state of disease emotionally and spiritually before any illness erupts in the physical body. Often we have ignored the signals for some time, allowing our emotions, thoughts, and spirituality to fall by the wayside. When a physical illness surfaces, it's usually the universe's last resort to get our attention about something. Although this is not exclusively true, quite often it is another common reason why an individual contracts a certain illness is that his or her soul has made a conscious choice to contract that illness. For it is in that particular illness that the exact lesson the soul needs to experience will emerge. This decision oversees all I can never say this word. Hereditary factors of physical issues, predisposition to certain illnesses, and individual's physical body. So, I mean, it's hard. Like you get a sinus infection and you're like, oh my gosh, where am I going wrong? I mean, it's not really that, you don't have to pick yourself apart that much, but it's kind of interesting. This last year I've really let go, and I've gotten sick a few times this year, and I just kind of watch myself, and I kind of watch what's happening, what I need to learn from this illness, what kind of opportunities does it bring me. It's been interesting to watch little pieces kind of fall into place. And of course, I get better and fine, as it goes. It's just something that I guess I'd say watch if you can, you know.
Yeah, and again, in the Eastern martial arts and physical exercises, that is kind of like an underlying theme as well, that you pay attention to what your body's doing. So
Yep.
your qigong, you just kind of subtly learning what your body's doing, what your muscles are doing, and recognizing there's something ajar there, something not balanced.
Yep.
And you don't necessarily do something about it like we do in Western medicine, like we take a pill or we get a shot or we have surgery. But you recognize there's something not in balance, and then you allow the natural, so to speak, things to happen to get it back in balance.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's I kind of can describe it as kind of a form of relaxation and meditation, where you're trying to not think of, oh, I got a headache. What did I do wrong? Oh, I'm stressed out. When you just recognize, oh yeah, there's something going wrong up here, and in a sense, your body and nature can often take care of that if you just kind of let it go in a sense. But it's kind of hard to describe.
Oh, absolutely. And it's very hard for us Westerners who are constantly on the go, constantly have something to do. We have a list that's 10 miles long, and everything has to have a label to it. It is very, very difficult to pull back, not do something about it, and just watch it. So
yeah. And going back to what you said is kind of the introduction to the last passage, you were saying that all three of these aspects are important: the emotional, spiritual, and physical. And on the face of it, everybody would say, yes, of course. But then we don't really. We don't.
No.
Why have any ideas why that is? Why don't we respect all three of those?
I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting question, because I've often wondered, because you will meet people that certainly have one of those in line.
Oh, absolutely.
Physically wonderful in shape and healthy, but their spirituality is none, or goofy or something, or on the other hand, their emotional well-being is quite off.
Yep.
And then you'll meet people that have two, and that's still common. You can have two of the three. But to get to all three of them, it's like, I don't know, it's like a whack-a-mole or something. You get two of them, and one of the other ones jumps out. I don't know. I have no explanation for that.
It's constant work, constant rotation, but baby steps. Just kind of getting into the habit. It's really interesting. So I've been meditating now for well over a year. It's actually, I guess it's been like 18 months or something like that, 16 months. And I've actually only just now gotten my kids into the pattern of, last night I said to them, I must meditate tonight. And it was a crazy night. We had a sleepover. There was all sorts of stuff going on, but they recognized that and gave me just that little bit of time that I needed. And I can tell you 2 months ago, that didn't happen. I was constantly trying to schedule my meditations around my children, but I still got it done, and I still made it happen. And without that, when I wouldn't meditate, my whole week was messed up. But it takes a long time to start recognizing those patterns.
Yeah. There has been some studies in recent years that indicate that as little as like 20 minutes a day of meditation or being aware will balance a lot of stuff, emotional stuff, physical, and spiritual as well. Um,
Absolutely.
but for people who aren't used to doing it, it's tough to do.
Yeah.
Especially in the Eastern world, you might do a prayer for a minute or 2 minutes, or uh, maybe longer in a church setting. But we're not used to like just being aware for numerous minutes,
Mhm.
10, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's hard.
Although theoretically, when you go to church or synagogue or temple or whatever, you theoretically should be aware and in that state for the entire
Oh yeah, that's
proceeding.
supposed to be a form of meditation if you can control the, what do they say, the monkey mind.
Exactly, yeah, and that's the problem. And the music and the ceremonies to help with that, and of course the sights of the space, the sounds and the prayers themselves. But our monkey minds, as you say,
Mhm.
start
Well,
coming
and
forward.
as you get, I mean, you can, I mean, this day and age, so this Western, where we are, philosophy, even me, I mean, I work 2 jobs. I'm bouncing back and forth. I've got so much stuff on my plate. We've talked about this before in Dr. Mao's book, Live Your Ultimate Life. Meditation is not just sitting there, doing nothing. I went running, and that was the only time I had to myself. And I used that as my meditation. I do Kung Fu, and I cannot tell you, if I could just live there, it would be so amazing. I will walk in there completely disheveled. And when I leave, I feel as high as a kite. I feel amazing. And I've used it as a form of meditation, a form of concentration um, to get myself back on track. So there are so many other ways where you can actually take the two of the aspects and put them together. Or, I'm working on my physical and my spiritual self, or my emotional self, or, whichever one you want to do. It does help.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the idea is to, in a sense, do that constantly.
Yes.
Uh, Christians would be familiar with pray unceasingly. So you're
Yes.
constantly in a state of awareness and meditation and prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for example, when we take a trip, going to work, for example, in your car, you can pretty much do it without even thinking because you've done it over and over. But what you are doing is you're thinking of other things. Well, I got to buy some food on the way home. Oh, what I got to do for lunch? What's my first task when I get at work? So you're
Yep.
thinking of everything but the
But
task of
yep.
driving.
Alan
And
Watts
and of
did a
course,
video on that, and it was making me laugh the entire time because he was talking about how you're not living in the now. Yeah.
yeah, and of course, in the case of driving, that's where accidents happen because your attention is diverted. So if a child jumps out in front of your car, you don't have enough time to respond because you're thinking about what you're going to do at work in a few minutes. So
Yeah.
the awareness is especially important in driving,
Yeah. And
or anytime you're doing something physical, you need to be aware of what you're doing, not just be on automatic pilot, so to
yeah,
speak.
definitely. Well, I guess we can finish off with just this last little part. So she says, and it's kind of like a regroup of what we were saying. All aspects of yourself need attention. Um, let's see. Each of these 3 energy patterns contributes to holding the illness in place and keeping it from being transformed. As you start to address each area separately, and then in combination, you'll begin to break the invisible energetic gridlock that keeps the illness and its dynamics alive. Each area needs your attention and care if you want to accelerate your healing and recovery process. People who are ill tend to focus on 1 or 2 of these areas. It's usually based on one's comfort zone and his or her familiar way of approaching sickness, crisis, and life. For instance, individuals who are used to going to the doctor will act upon that part of the equation. Um, And then I'll just go through people who tend to meditate, on the other hand, might examine the spiritual underpinnings of their illness. And still others who have experienced their psychopathy are more comfortable with processing some of the emotional issues that contribute to holding the disease's matrix in place. It depends on which makes rational sense to you and the types of experiences and support systems that bring you to the illness. The truth is, if you really want to heal, you have to address all three areas. All too often, I see people addressing just one area. So yeah, I mean, like, so first you have to look, how do I go about this illness? What, you know, how would I automatically treat this? And then how can I look at it from the other two perspectives? And just do that every time until it becomes habit. And I think you'll see that things are better. And then she says, this experience taught me a lot about leaving no stone unturned. I now always try to explore different options and approach all problems multidimensionally. The 10 years that I was sick and the lessons that my illness taught me became the core of my work and the premise of this book.
Yeah, among the three, if I were to choose the most difficult one, and I'm not sure if it would apply to everybody, but it seems like the physical, we kind of got a handle on that. We know, we can go to the gym, we can work out at home, we can
go to the doctor.
Go to the doctor. Spiritual, we can go to church, we can go to temple, we can meditate. So we kind of got a easy way, presumably, to work on that. Now the emotional, the only thing is, well, you spend $100 an hour to go to a therapist, and people say, well, and you got to do, and it's not like a one-time trip to a doctor. You got to go over and over. So people say, well, wait, I can't afford that, or there's nothing wrong with me to begin with, or it's not that serious. So then we maybe get a self-help book, and we read some feeling good stuff, and temporarily feel good. So it just seems to me that's the rough one, especially maybe in the Western world. I'm not sure the Eastern, it's the same deal. They might have more, I don't know. But any thoughts on how do we go on that journey of emotional balance and stability?
Well, I mean, I can only speak about my life. It's been like, especially this last year was so rocky for me, and I felt like, of course, I was open to anything and everything. In the very, very beginning last year, they forced me to take pharmaceuticals just to kind of level me out. And I did not want to take them. I was like anti-pill. I wasn't going to take a pill. I was going to fix myself. But I almost feel like spirit, universe kind of interjected, and I ended up taking the medications, and then my goal was just to help kind of get me centered, focus on me, and then slowly get back off them. And I did. I got off them. I got off them in February, and I guess it's just been a long journey. I think that the West, we look at our emotional state in so many different ways. I talk to so many different people. I talk to people who are just pure, like, psychoanalyze everything. And then I talk to people who don't believe in any of it. And I think there's balance in our emotions. And I definitely next time want to go through this. I think our society has programmed us to not acknowledge our feelings and emotions and what's going on in our head. We're so busy trying to control it. We're so busy trying to accept it. We're so busy, trying to suppress everything that we don't actually, own to who we are. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are becoming so ill, and we are becoming so out of balance, because I'm angry. Well, I'm not supposed to be angry. So I'm going to suppress that anger, and I'm going to stuff it down so hard that it makes me ill. Or I feel shame, because I did something wrong, and same thing, I stuff it and stuff it and stuff it. So, again, I definitely think that's such a good question, and it's something I've been wanting to talk about since we started this book. And I think we just have to be who we are. I think that's one of our biggest issues in the Western world is we aren't who we're trying to be something we're not. Where we are emotionally. Does that make sense? Or am I bouncing around all over the place?
Yeah. Well, what I pick up from that, which maybe or not what you were hinting at, is the idea of compassion for yourself in that circumstance. So if you're angry, for example, well, first of all, you need to recognize I am angry, and then have compassion for yourself that, oh, I'm sorry you're angry. It's hard to describe, but you have to have self-compassion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll talk about how to feel your own feelings, to sit with your feelings. I'm like, what does that mean? Like it took me months to be able to learn how to sit with my feelings, like feel my feelings.
Yeah.
But I guess my point is, yes, sitting with my feelings, if you have to go see a psychiatrist, go see a psychiatrist, I don't think the psychiatrist is the only answer, but I think if that's the road that is open to you, or if, taking some, medicine to feel a little better is fine, but don't like solely rely on that. There we go. See, I don't know how to explain. But yeah, I think that's the basis for the emotional component. I think we just run away with our emotions, or we hide our emotions, and we don't actually use our emotions, because God gave us these beautiful feelings and emotions, and I think we just don't know what to do with them.
Yeah. And conversely, passion for others. So if we see someone else anger, we need to have compassion and with that they're dealing with something and we don't quite know what it is necessarily, but we can't criticize them necessarily for being angry. So we have to have compassion for ourselves as well as the other, and then they have to have compassion for themselves and for us as well. So if we're angry, they have to have compassion that there's something going on with us and they don't necessarily know what it is either.
No, it's very true. It's, love thy enemy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, well, I think we did a pretty good coverage of the emotional, spiritual, physical from her book, and that's a good bit of advice came across there. Okay, why don't we close off this session, and then we'll meet again next Sunday again, and carry on with maybe a little more of the emotional idea or whatever seems to hit the spot for next weekend.
I would like to.
All right, very good. We'll see you again next time. This is Brooke and myself, Sunday mornings, talking about various things for well-being and balance.
Bye.
Bye.